All right. Wacky rig under the dock. Got the VMC red line with the crossover band. Not a big one. Decent fun sized largemouth. Pretty simple setup. We just got a clear crossover band hooked Wacky style on a weightless worm. The one beauty thing about the crossover band when you're skipping is it's a wide band, so it's gonna take up more surface area than like your little thin black bands that you see people use when you're wacky rigging. So it has a less tendency to break your worm in half and cut that plastic in half. So your worm's gonna last a lot longer when you're skipping with that crossover versus having that black band that tends to rip your worm. Or if you don't have a band at all, you know, you have a better tendency of just ripping that worm right in half. So that crossover band, you can use probably one worm to maybe every 4 or 5 worms that you'd use without the band. Another fun size one on the Wacky. This is a little better size. All right, another decent one on the Wacky. Wacky rig with the crossover band. We got the VMC #1 Nico hook in the Redline series. Super sharp hook, straight up under the shade. Skipping around some docks here in the summertime on Natural Lake. That was a little bit better one. Crossover band's just a really good program. Paired up with this is a #1 Nico hook. You know, when you're skipping docks, you can throw the regular Nico, or the weedless Nico works really well too. It's just gonna help you so you're not getting hung up on the dock posts and cables and whatever else you find under docks. But if you got a relatively open dock like we have up in front of us on the right-hand side, you can get away with that open style Nico. You just gotta be a little more careful. I'm just throwing on a 7-foot medium fast St. Croix. You don't want a super long rod, you know, something in that 6.5 to 7 foot range. You get too long of a rod and you hit the water a lot more when you're skipping. Another decent one. Not huge, but it's fun size. Oh, he's got us hung. There he came up. There we go. About a 1-2 pounder, Wacky rig. Midday, got some good shade lines. That's really when those fish are gonna suck up under there. You're gonna increase your odds a lot of catching fish on these docks during that time of day. Whoa. A little one. Another little guy on the Wacky. Another fun size. Nothing too big, but quite a bit of action. Oh, come out of there. Gosh, that's a little better one. Not huge, but he's decent. There's a decent one. Good fish on the Wacky. He took a little while to get out. Had to tighten my drag some. It's one thing when you're fishing these docks with the Wacky worm, it's way different than your setup that you're using like for a drop shot, say 6 to 8 pound test, and your drag set pretty light. With these dock fish, you kind of want to get their head turned and coming towards you and try and control them as best you can. There's just sometimes it's not going to work. You're going to lose some fish, but the faster that you can get their head coming your way and out of that stuff, the better. Another really key thing with this setup on the spinning rod when you're skipping docks is having a high vis line. We've got a neon green line here, braid, and reason for that is in these shadows it gets real dark back in there midday once these once that sun gets high, the shade gets really dark, and you can still keep a really good visual on your line and watch your line for when it jumps, and you can watch it for when your bait's hitting the bottom. And it's going to allow you to detect more bites and in turn, you know, set the hook at the right time and land more fish. And if you're using just straight fluorocarbon or more of your dark green braided line, you're not going to be able to see that line as well to detect those bites. So make sure you're using a high vis line when you're skipping docks with a spinning rod. It's going to allow you to detect just a lot more bites and put a lot more fish in the boat. He's not big. Not bad though. That's the same one. There we go. Another wacky. A little better one. Yeah, I think that was the one I just missed. Jeez. Got him good. VMC red line. It's number 1. Crossover band. Skipping docks. Pretty good recipe to put some fish in the boat.